Hello and welcome to the Presidential Diary, brought to you by the Communications Directorate at the Presidency. I'm Jefferson Saki at the Flagstaff House in Accra, and you're welcome. President Nana Akufo-Addo has launched an initiative aimed at promoting gender equality in Africa. The Gender and Development Initiative for Africa, or GADIA, will spearhead initiatives aimed at delivering positive socio-economic impact on the lives and livelihoods of the African woman. The initiative, which is under the Office of the President and the African Union, is on the theme African Women as Leaders in Business and Politics. In today's edition of the Presidential Diary, we bring you highlights of the launch held at the Accra International Conference Center here in Accra, with Africa's first elected female president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, as a special guest of honor. Courageous, selfless, resilient, determined. Since the 1995 Beijing Declaration on Women Advancement and Empowerment, Africa has come a long way. Today, Africa has the world's highest percentage of women in parliament, strong participation in government, and have had 3 female presidents. But still, lots more needs to be done. 50% of Africa's population are women, yet they are underrepresented in Africa's workforce. 1 in every 4 women in Africa is illiterate. Every 2 minutes, a woman dies in Africa during childbirth. When women don't achieve their full potential, households, communities and nations suffer the backlash. Just weeks after taking office as Ghana's leader, President Akufo-Addo appointed Ghana's first ever woman chief of staff. 9 women were appointed as ministers, while 36 women were named for the position of metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives. A new chief justice, a woman, was also appointed by President Akufo-Addo. The United Nations Economic Commission for Africa in July 2017 named President Akufo-Addo as the AU Gender Champion in recognition of his efforts in gender equality at continental level. Imagine Africa with the full power of its women unleashed. Welcome to the launch of the Gender and Development Initiative for Africa.
Today we are here to launch a premier initiative to support African women and make a significant contribution towards increasing gender parity on the continent, and to celebrate a visionary champion on gender and development who is committed to bringing this agenda to fruition. Today we gather here to launch the Gender and Development Initiative for Africa, or GADIA. Gender continues to play a crucial role in national development agendas of countries all over the world, especially African countries. This is evident in sustained efforts made over the years by the international community, national governments, and various stakeholders in advancing gender mainstreaming at various levels of development. It is therefore not surprising that the African Union's Agenda 2063 and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals espouse deliberate and objectives on gender and women's empowerment. SDG Goal 5 is dedicated to gender equality, and most of the other 169 targets of the SDGs place emphasis on advancing women and the girl child. In addition, Agenda 2063 specifically talks about achieving gender parity by 2020 in public and private institutions, and the removal of gender discrimination in the social, cultural, economic, and political spheres. African countries have witnessed some progress in the area of gender equality and empowerment of women in areas like business, entrepreneurship, innovation, industry, politics, academia, and other social cycles. They have also enacted a number of laws and ratified a landmark number of international instruments and frameworks aimed at ensuring gender equality and the protection of human rights and the prohibition of all forms of discrimination against women is achieved. African women achieve only 87% of the human development outcomes of their counterpart men. African women hold about 66% of all the jobs in the non-agricultural informal sectors and only make 70 cents on each dollar they make, as opposed to men. But today, ladies and gentlemen, Africa has been given a champion on gender and development by the African Union, in the person of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the President of the Republic of Ghana. The President's appointments of women into high office within his government, the gender-sensitive programs that he has spouses, and the many other initiatives like the LEAP program, which provides social grants to women-headed households and ensures that households that are vulnerable are given a step up, and the Free Senior High School Initiative, which ensures that no girl child will be left without an opportunity to receive an education up to the secondary level for financial reasons, is left behind. Finally, it should be noted that our gender and development champion is the first Ghanaian president to declare to the world that one day Ghana will have a female president. We commend you, Your Excellency, for your genuine commitment to advancing the African woman.
It's so instructive to note that in recent times, entrepreneurs are between the ages of 18 and 36. That means there is hope for the future of business in Africa. Your Excellency, with your kind permission, we intend that within 4 years, out of the 100 successful indigenous Ghanaian businesses, at least 50 of them will be owned and managed by women. It's possible. We can do it. But one advice I want to give to female entrepreneurs is that have confidence. Believe in yourself. Don't be backed down by culture, by encumbrances. As a Minister of Business, continue dialogue with other ministers and stakeholders to improve the environment. I want to assure you that the President's business policies and friendly business environments would guide us in ensuring that Ghanaian entrepreneurs, especially women, are not only successful, but they expand their business, they can employ and improve livelihood. On the occasion of this initiative, I want to congratulate all those who've done it and to say that we are pledging our commitment to ensure that women are not only at the fringes of society, they are part of day-to-day activities to make Ghana a better place. Thank you for the opportunity.
The launch of this significant initiative in Ghana is another feather in the cap of our President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who has demonstrated his very special acumen as a gender and development champion. And we must add that he has 5 daughters. Ladies and gentlemen, this is destiny calling. Ghana, 60 years on, is still the jewel of Africa. The gender and development issues have assumed special prominence since our president took over. And the steady progress that Ghanaian women have chalked over the recent period have suddenly experienced an accelerated burst of activity in all spheres of our national development. Those days of women just picking share nuts and getting bitten by scorpions and snakes, fetching water, taking care of husbands and children, and all a woman aspired to was to get married and have children, are still there, but there is added value of education. And today, a key feature of the initiatives that have been adored by this very special president is the unique breakthrough key, the free SHS program. It is the ladder up for women. When every woman is educated, all sons and daughters of this great country in Africa will be educated. Ghana and Africa has been running with one leg tied behind it. The leg, that of the women, must be untied so that Africa can run like Usain Bolt.
I also wish to use this opportunity to congratulate His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo for making education, especially SHS education, free for all Ghanaian children. This is a game changer in the development of Africa, and we would like to commend him for this initiative. In his inaugural address to the African Union, the chair of the Union, His Excellency Alpha Conde, President of Guinea, reminded us of the historical fact that he had the intention to designate His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo to lead one of AU's most important agenda, that of gender and development of Africa. So we thank His Excellency President Alpha Conde for recognizing what all of us in Ghana know, that in Nana Akufo-Addo, we have a gender champion of the highest order.
For me, this is such a wonderful opportunity once again to be with President Nana Akufo-Addo as he assumes these important responsibilities. Responsibilities to lead the processes, the approaches that will enable women to continue to accelerate in their participation in all areas of endeavor. Ghana has come quite a long way as I listen to some of the statements, and I just want to applaud you, Mr. President, for the appointments of the Chief Justice and all the many ministers that are here, a member of your cabinet. It just tells us that you've already set the stage to be able to promote women at a much higher level. Mr. President, Nana, there will be a gap because I will be leaving as the only president of Africa, woman president. And you're taking on that responsibility to promote women in politics and in business, as evidenced by this meeting today. We will look to you to lead that effort to help us to identify those many, many women today who stand on the threshold just waiting to make the last big jump because they've already established their leadership in business and in politics. What they now need is that we've broken the glass ceiling, but it still needs to be broadened, it needs to be widened, it needs to be open a bit more. And so I know that you will help. And for all the women in this room, Ghana having excelled in international leadership for so long, particularly under a president who served for many, many years in a capacity that brought him great respect. And today, the highest respect as he holds the helm of the highest leadership in your country.
Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, when you consider that women are the first line of educators of our children, our communities, our nations, our region, and our continent, it is obvious that we empower our children by empowering our women. The legendary Ghanaian Kwejia Aggrey told the now familiar story about the importance of educating the girl child. He said to educate a boy child was to educate an individual, whereas to educate a girl child was to educate the community. In the words of another illustrious Ghanaian, Kofi Annan, former United Nations Secretary General at the World Economic Forum for the year 2000, he said, and I quote, "No development strategy is better than one that involves women as central players. It has immediate benefits for nutrition, health, savings, and reinvestment at the family, community, and ultimately country level. In other words, educating girls is a social development policy that works. It is a long-term investment that yields an exceptionally high return, unquote. Indeed, several studies across the world have indicated that investing in women is arguably the most effective measure any developing nation can employ to improve its standard of living. It is also widely acknowledged that educating girls produces considerable social and welfare benefits, such as lower infant mortality and fertility rates. Again, research has found that the mother's level of education has a direct influence on economic productivity of both her family, community, and the nation. Thus, having African women as leaders in business and politics, as is the theme of this event, is a must if we are to shed off the evils of poverty, ignorance, and disease, and put our continent onto the path of sustainable progress and prosperity. Over the course of several decades, there have been deliberate policies put in place to bridge the gap of gender inequality. The historic 1995 Beijing Conference and resolutions to foster the need for urgent action on the issues of women. We are now in the 5th decade, and I dare say time is running out. We should, by the end of the 5th decade, significantly improve on the indices of women's advancement on the African continent. As co-chair of the eminent group of advocates on the UN Sustainable Goals, my particular role is to help garner political support in Africa to rally behind the implementation of the SDGs. I'm aware that all the SDGs are of equal significance and importance, but as the AU gender champion, I must perforce single out for special mention and attention during my stay in office, SDG 5, which defines the goal of gender equality and full female empowerment. In my estimation, it is at the heart of the structure of the SDGs. We do ourselves and future generations a great disservice if we leave women out of the agenda for development. It is therefore, in my view, the duty of the world in its entirety to extend a blanket protection to all women and to ensure that their rights become the bedrock for equality and social justice. As AU Gender Champion, my goal to this end is to help mobilize political support to help transform Africa into an exemplary continent where sound policies and solid programs would have, by the end of the day, successfully elevated the existential situation of women. We must find a way to put Africa ahead in the promotion of gender equality, and we will do so working fully with women leaders to develop solutions and not having them trail by or try to catch up with us, the men, when we think we have found the solution. It is the competitiveness of our enterprises in the agricultural and manufacturing sectors that will determine our capacity to create wealth for our youth and women and wealth in our society. The competitiveness of Ghana's private sector is key to addressing issues of inclusion, economic development, and growth of Ghana. That is the only way we can build a Ghana beyond aid, that is freeing our people from a mindset of dependence, aid, charity, and handouts, and building a self-reliant economy which will mobilize the immense resources of Ghana, material and human, with women and youth in the forefront to resolve Ghana's problems. That is the focus of my government.
You have the power in your hands. You have the power in your soul. You have the power in your heart. African woman, just be strong. African woman, just be strong. African woman.
Earlier on Monday, the 13th of November, President Akufo-Addo noted that African journalists have a duty to help change the image about the continent and also establish a narrative which is more positive. The president was speaking at the Bloomberg Africa Business Media Innovators Summit held in Accra. According to the president, African media practitioners have faced many challenges, ranging from a highly polarized media environment, lack of technological support, limited investment in the sector, among others. The summit was part of the Bloomberg Media Initiative, which is working with universities in 3 of Africa's largest economies, Kenya, Nigeria, as well as South Africa, to train journalists to analyze and report on economic data and also to improve their quality. The summit examines how business leaders across the continent and globally can continue to contribute to a strong and vibrant media sector. President Akufo-Addo was confident that technological advancement and innovations would also help change the face of Africa's media and present the continent with even more greater control to tell its own story.
Media has always been a critical feature of the political, financial, and business architecture of Africa and continues to be so. The time has come for us to harness the full potential of the media, keep it up to pace with technological changes, so it helps define and at the same time contribute to the sustainable development of the African continent. Over the years, African media practitioners have faced many challenges, ranging from a highly polarized media environment, lack of technological support, limited investment in the sector, poorly paid journalists, threat to their lives, corruption, and lack of requisite training. These challenges have led to the African media largely shirking its responsibility in telling the African story. As a result, the narrative has been shaped and told by foreign journalists through their own lenses and words. The projection of the continent as a result has often been about war, disease, poverty, and famine. African journalists therefore have a duty to help change the image about Africa and establish a narrative which is more positive. The externally generated story of Africa might be hard to take, but so long as there's widespread poverty and inequality, that will be the image that is going to be portrayed. This means our writers, our journalists from the continent, the writers of the African story, carry a great responsibility. When you write, what you write must be about the limitless possibilities on the continent. What is written about Africa by African writers must have the ultimate reference status. African writers play remarkable roles in the liberation of our continent from imperialism. They set the tone for the discourse about our identity. It is now for you, our business and financial journalists, to set the tone for the economic development and prosperity of Africa. There is a lot of talk that this will be the Asian century, this Chinese century. But take it from me, the 21st century holds excellent prospects for Africa. This can be Africa's century. We can claim it if we believe in ourselves.
President Akufo-Addo has launched the National Sanitation Campaign at the banquet hall here in Accra. The president announced that the government is taking measures to acquire 3 new sites to serve as integrated material recovery sites to address the issue of disposal of waste for the Accra metropolitan area. The president stated that as waste is generated every day, Ghanaians have an obligation to keep the environment clean every day and not on a monthly basis. In leading by example, President Akufo-Addo noted that every government department and agency, including the seat of government, is assigning 2 officers to be designated sanitation marshal and deputy marshal to oversee the compliance of their outfit and their staff to the laid-down bylaws with regards to sanitation in their respective offices.
In line with the new Patriotic Party's 2016 manifesto, the platform on which we were elected, we pledged, amongst others, to develop a comprehensive national sanitation program to address the sanitation challenges of our country, and by so doing, improve our total well-being and enhance national productivity. This comprehensive program will include the establishment of a National Sanitation Authority and the establishment of a dedicated sanitation fund to help make our nation clean. We must all recognize that indiscipline has been a major cause of the unsanitary situation in most parts of the country. It is not in our nature as Ghanaians to be dirty. We keep our immediate surroundings and our homes very clean. However, for one reason or the other, when we step out of these immediate surroundings, we seem to ignore all of these positive attitudes. Successive Ghanaian governments have tried to reverse this trend and inculcate a habit of greater discipline in the care of our surroundings. It has not succeeded. My government intends to make a fresh start. As waste is generated every day, we have an obligation to keep our environment clean every day. We have to do so daily and not on a monthly basis. Every day is Sanitation Day. I recognize, however, that the government cannot do it alone. This is why I wish to call on all of us, especially our chiefs and queen mothers, religious and opinion leaders, civil society organizations, private sector operators, to rise up to the challenge and help make a difference this time round.
And on that note, we end today's edition of the Presidential Diary, brought to you by the Communications Directorate at the Presidency. Always log on to www.presidency.gov.gh and the other social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, as well as Instagram for more updates. I'm Jefferson Saki. See you next time.